Tom Aspinall wants to stay active as champion, but the UFC schedule could hold him back. Tom Aspinall has been very open about wanting to fight as frequently as possible now that he's healthy and holding the undisputed UFC heavyweight title. Unlike many other fighters in different divisions, Aspinall doesn't have to endure draining weight cuts before competing, which makes his recovery quicker and allows him to realistically consider short turnarounds. From his perspective, there's no reason he couldn't fight twice in 2025, especially if he gets through his UFC 321 title defense against Ciryl Gane without taking much damage. However, the reality of UFC scheduling makes that ambition difficult. After his October fight with Gane, only 2 pay-per-view events remain on the 2025 calendar. The UFC almost always reserves these PPV cards for title fights or massive headliners, and Aspinall isn't the only champion in line for those coveted spots. With multiple weight divisions, each with its own star champions campaigning for visibility, the UFC has to carefully balance who headlines which card. This competitive landscape for main event slots means Aspinall may have to wait his turn, even if he's healthy and eager to compete again quickly. For that reason, despite his personal desire to stay busy and fight twice in 2025, it's highly probable that Aspinall will be limited to just one appearance that year. Unless the UFC decides to add another pay-per-view, reshuffle its schedule, or place Aspinall on a non-PPV headliner, which is rare for undisputed champions, his activity level will depend more on the promotion's calendar than on his own readiness. It's a frustrating position for a fighter who thrives on momentum, but it reflects the reality of being part of a crowded roster of champions all looking to showcase themselves on the biggest stages. If you're enjoying these UFC updates and want to stay ahead of the fight news, hit subscribe to MMA Thread right now. While Tom Aspinall is heading into UFC 321 as the betting favorite, he's made it clear he isn't underestimating Ciryl Gane. The Frenchman has long been considered one of the best strikers in the heavyweight division, with elite footwork, speed, and technical ability on the feet. However, his past struggles against wrestlers have been well documented. In early 2022, he was surprisingly out-wrestled by Francis Ngannou, who wasn't even known for grappling. Then, in 2023, John Jones exposed his defensive holes further by taking him down with ease and submitting him in barely 2 minutes. Those fights gave critics plenty of ammunition to label Gane as one-dimensional. But Aspinall isn't falling into that trap. He believes that setbacks often provide fighters with their greatest opportunities to grow, and he's convinced that Gane has worked hard to improve the weaknesses in his ground game. That's why Aspinall is preparing for every possible version of Gane, not just a slick striker, but potentially a more well-rounded, unpredictable opponent who might even attempt takedowns of his own. Aspinall has repeatedly emphasized that MMA is about expecting the unexpected, and he doesn't rule out grappling exchanges, wild scrambles, or even a fight that stays entirely on the feet. His own philosophy is simple: take the path of least resistance. He trains with elite-level partners in all areas, striking, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu, and feels comfortable wherever the fight goes. If Gane's striking creates openings, he's happy to stand and trade. If the ground becomes an option, he's ready to capitalize there too. Ultimately, Aspinall is treating UFC 321 as a fight where adaptability will be key, respecting Gane's improvements, but also trusting his own ability to exploit whatever opportunities arise on fight night. Don't miss any updates on Aspinall, Gane, and the heavyweight division. Subscribe to MMA Thread for daily UFC coverage.